friends, welcome back to Mustard Seed Homesteading. My name is Megan, and if you're new here, I'm so glad you stopped by because this is my weekly Greenstalk Garden Tour and Harvest where I share all the things going on with the Greenstalks while we do some harvesting. All right, before we get started, because I have a lot of announcements that I want to share with you all, I have to tell you it is extremely hot out. So if you see sweat or perspiration on my face, you'll know why. I think we're in the 90s right now, but this was the only day that I can come out here and do the tour. So I want to make sure that I'm sharing and giving you updates on everything that's growing back here. First thing I want to share is I am partnering up with Greenstalk, and they're doing a 5-tier Greenstalk giveaway to any one of my viewers, and you get to pick the color and texture of your choice as long as it's in stock. And the entry form will be listed in the description below, and this starts today, July 11th, 2026, and ends July 18th, 2026, and it's for 7 days, so that you have plenty of time to enter, and then the winner will be picked on July 20th, which is a Monday. And friends, I am so grateful for Greenstalk for doing this. Thank you, Greenstalk. I'm excited to announce the winner and to share a Greenstalk with one of you. The next announcement is I want to make sure today, as we're going through the tour, I want to show you how I am trellising and how I'm supporting my tomatoes, because either the next tour or the one after that, I want to share a little recipe from harvesting some of the tomatoes and some other things from the Greenstalks. By the way, friends, I'm just loving Greenstalk's hat. It is so nice. I am probably going to be wearing hats from now on, by the way, because it is so incredibly hot, and I also just don't want bugs in my hair because I've had a Japanese beetle in my hair before. This was, I think, 2 years ago, and they're still out and about, and there's just a lot of insects back here, so I'd rather keep my head covered. Plus, it is just so hot with the sun beating down on my head, so I just wanted to quickly show this to you. Isn't that so cute? Okay, last thing I want to share before we go ahead and take a look at the Greenstalks, but if you are new here, I do make Greenstalk Garden Tour and Harvest videos weekly because I have recently added a lot more Greenstalks to my garden, and I want to make sure that I'm sharing the progress on a weekly basis. Okay, friends, let's go ahead and start seeing the Greenstalks. We are going to start over here because, well, it's shaded and I am just melting out here, but I did want to give you a close-up of how I like to trellis my tomato plants. The first way I want to show you how I love to trellis my tomato plants is using Greenstalk's trellis right here. This one is my orange hat. It is a dwarf cherry tomato plant, and you can see how it is leaning right on here. Now, sometimes I will use clips or a tomato clip to clip it on here to give it a little bit more security, but for the most part, the way the plant leans out of the pocket, this trellis helps to support it completely. And here's another angle kind of more to the side, and what I've noticed too about my dwarf tomatoes is they tend to like to grow in that direction, which makes it perfect for using their trellis. And most of the varieties that I am growing in my Greenstalks is the Tiny Tim, we have Orange Hat, and I'm also trying some other new varieties like Rio Grande, Purple Rain, and then I definitely have some Roma tomatoes and some other varieties in the other Greenstalks over there that we are testing out to see how they all do. Another way I like to trellis my tomato plants is using a bamboo stick. I believe this one is the 16 or 18 inch. Now, I did a thorough video on how I trellis many different types of plants in a video, I want to say beginning June, and I'll leave that down in the description below if you'd like to see that. But for my tomato plants, I typically like to use a shorter bamboo stick if it is a dwarf size. And as I shared earlier, I like to use this as well. But if it's a really tall tomato plant, still bushing, but definitely taller than say a dwarf size, then I like to use my 3-foot or 4-foot bamboo stick that you see right here. So this is the Purple Rain tomato plant that I am trying out this year and experimenting with. And you can see it's gotten pretty tall, and so this is, I believe this is the 3-footer, and I just clip it. But the way I like to put the bamboo stick in is straight up as opposed to sticking out, because if it was sticking out, I probably wouldn't be able to walk around this. So I purposely put the bamboo stick straight up and then clip the tomato plant straight up against the bamboo stick. And something else I want to point out that I find to be really important, because you know, tomato plants can get very bushy. What I like to do is keep this leaf free. So you can see I took off some of the leaves here, and I believe there's one taken off here and another one right there. And so by doing that, it's allowing not only for the plant to breathe, because I do live in a very humid climate, but what that also does is it doesn't put too too much weight on the tomato plant so that it does not fall over and end up breaking. Now, in this case, I did leave the leaf on here. I don't take all the leaves off. Here's another leaf, but I don't always take these out of the armpits either. I mean, this is pretty much a whole new tomato plant on its own. I could actually take that off, put that in water, and start a whole new tomato plant. But I will let some of these grow, and you can even see where I took the leaf off here. I'm not even going to touch that. I'm going to let that grow in the armpit, and hopefully I'll be able to get some fruit from here, get some fruit from here, and get some fruit from here. And that's how I like to trellis and support and treat and take care of the tomato plants in my Greenstalk. Something else I do want to point out, when I see my leaves like this, I just take them off. I don't rip every single one off, but if it's looking dead and not looking healthy, I'll just take it right off the plant. Speaking of tomatoes though, we do have a couple to harvest. By the way, this is a prime example of how hot it is today because this has gotten watered yesterday, and I just watered it before I started filming because it is so hot out here. But you're also going to see the leaves over there acting the same way because the sun has just been beating on everything. So everything's looking really wilty and like it's dying, but it's not. They'll be fine. And by the way, I have decided to just leave these two alone and get them prepped and ready for the garlic planting this October. And the other cherry tomato that I'm growing in here is the Patio Yellow Choice. And the Roma variety that I'm growing in here is just your bushing Roma tomato. Look at those sunflowers. That's my sweet little teddy bear. Isn't it beautiful? Oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. I will say when it comes to this new trellis that I have all these Greenstalks on, is that a lot of plants are shading some other plants, giving it much needed shade, while other plants, you can see they look so wilty because of the way the sun is hitting them. Here's a great example. Look at all the cucumber leaves. You know what? I'm actually glad that I'm showing this to you in the heat because I know when I first started, I was like, what is wrong with my plant when I saw it acting like this, especially my broccoli. I think that was my first experience, and I learned that it was just acting dramatic because it was hot and it needed water. But it does do this when it's really hot. So if you're new to gardening, don't let this scare you. Just water it and then wait till evening or it gets some shade, because when it's super hot, this is how plants are. You can see this one is perfectly fine. This one's not wilting or anything, and it's probably because it hasn't been in the sun the entire time, whereas some of the ones up here on the trellis were. There are a ton of tomato clusters, nothing to harvest yet, but we're getting there, friends. Here's a look on this side. Everything looks a lot healthier because it's not being hit with the sun. However, I do notice that some of the pepper plants look like they're taking a long time to grow, but that's fine. This is a total experiment for me this year to see what plants are doing good in what pockets. I may end up actually taking one Greenstalk off each side and separating them more. I have no idea, but I'm learning from having these up here and just observing to see how everything is growing. Look at the little jalapenos. Maybe we'll harvest those next week. Those are definitely not ready yet. Look at that little tomato. I see a lot of tomatoes. They're just really green. Okay, we do have more cucumbers. I probably could wait, but I'm just going to harvest this actually. So we're going to take this one and we're going to take this one. These are I believe these are the patio ones, like the little snackers. So we're going to take these. And look, there's more. We got one here and here. There's one up there. Friends, look at it. Made it all the way over the trellis. That is so exciting. And to give you perspective, here's where I'm standing. Those are my new Hissy boots, friends. I love these boots so much, so much. By the way, if you are looking for boots, you guys, I finally found a really good pair. So I'll leave the link, and I actually have a discount code for them. I'll leave everything down there if you're interested in checking them out. But from here, all the way from here, this is how tall the trellis is. And it's pretty tall. Hopefully the camera is doing it justice because it's really tall. Like for instance, there's no way that I would be able to touch the top just from standing here. So this is a really tall trellis, and the fact that these cucumber plants are growing out of pockets, not all of them, I do have some grow bags, but I do have a lot of them growing out of the pockets of the Greenstalks, and this is how high they're getting. I did not see these. We're actually going to harvest these too, because when they're like little balls like this, that just means that, from my understanding, is that they just weren't pollinated all the way, which is fine. I mean, listen, for me, if they're edible, then I'm good to go. Okay, let's grab this one. I already know I'm gonna drop this, so let me put that one down. And here we go. Look at that. Friends, I feel like we have been. I think we've been harvesting cucumbers like every garden tour. I didn't see this one either. We're gonna harvest this one also. All right, I know you can't see it because it's really small and there's just so much green, but there's a lot of little baby cucumbers, so hopefully we'll keep harvesting cucumbers every week. Over here are the loofah plants. Look at how much those have grown. Hopefully we will have some loofahs to harvest too. And over here, I have cantaloupe. So I do have one in the grow bag, but I do have just one cantaloupe plant growing out of this pocket. It is already vining up the trellis, so hopefully we'll have some cantaloupe to harvest as well. There's that gorgeous pink beauty amaranth too, friends. Look at how beautiful that is. Love that color. I did want to quickly show this to you. Do you see this amaranth right here? So this is the white beauty, but do you see how eaten up it is? This is why I wanted to grow a lot of amaranth, because it is a companion plant, which means the bugs are going to attack that. And here's what I've noticed, that the amaranths are getting eaten up, and a lot of them are around the Greenstalks. I actually had to pull one out of the lemonade Greenstalk because it was literally just pure lace. In fact, it was right here, so I ended up putting another amaranth in place of it. And what I ended up doing was I left this tray of amaranth here in case I ever need to fill spots, because it seems like they're getting chewed up left and right, which is great because what that's doing is protecting the other plants. And if that's the case, then I'll just keep amaranth growing all summer long going into the fall. Now I want to show you the lemonade and the black Greenstalk because we have that new trellis that goes in between them. And friends, I am loving this whole combination of what I did over here, which, by the way, we do have another cucumber to harvest. Look at this cutie. Now this seems more normal, like a snacking cucumber. So we're going to go ahead and harvest this one too. I do want to give you an update though on the eggplant. So my goodness, this thing is getting chewed up, but I feel like the middle part is okay. It's these black bugs. What are these things? They look like little flies. Okay, I don't know what they are, but I think those are what's chewing up my eggplant. So we'll just have to see how this goes. And look at the dwarf Greek basil, friends. You see how big that is? So yeah, this gets really bushy. I definitely encourage you that if you don't harvest this all the time, definitely trim off the top so that it doesn't flower on you. Looks like we have a lot more tomatoes too. By the way, this has nothing to do with Greenstalks, but I harvested some more blueberries down on the driveway out of my grow bags. All right, so we do have some dead leaves. So what I will do when I see this, I'll just come over and take that off. But I'm really excited to see how much, okay, I'm not gonna do this on camera because I don't wanna waste time, but I'll take all that off later. But I do wanna show you how it is trellising up this trellis already. Look at that cucumber. And look at that cucumber. Look how high it's gone already. This was really a great idea, and I don't take credit for it because I actually got this idea from Greenstalk, except Greenstalk had a 3-tier and they actually put this trellis in the Greenstalk, whereas this is a little bit different. We tweaked it and we reinforced it against the little platforms here to go in between 2 Greenstalks. So we did a little bit differently, but either way, I am loving this. I just have to show this to you. Look at this amaranth stalk. First of all, it's when I tell you thick, oh my gosh, this is the first time I'm growing this. This is really thick. This is the multi-color spinach amaranth. Look at how tall this thing is getting. It's gorgeous. These are my new favorite plants because it could be used for multiple things. 1, it's beautiful. 2, it's a companion plant and it's obviously doing its job. But 3, I've shared this before, but these act like spinach leaves. You can eat them, you can saute them. You know, in the heat, we can't grow spinach and lettuce, unfortunately. And so I figured this would be a great way to get my greens if I wanted to. So growing this could So pretty much a couple of things. I can get my leafy greens and it can be a companion plant. And we do have some peppers, but they're not ready to harvest back here. Now I want to show you the ones on the driveway because the Greenstalk that has all the peppers have a ton of beautiful peppers that are growing too. Now we are on the driveway and I'm just going to give you updates on everything that's going on down here. So far so good with the sweet potatoes. Now I have been getting a lot of lovely Japanese beetles over here and they've just been devouring some of my leaves and I've been having to get them off. And then of course we do have some yellowing leaves that I've just been taking off. It happens. But what's really exciting is how beautiful these are vining and growing in the Greenstalk. And this is why I love Greenstalk's hoop trellis here for support. And I just vine these leaves. It's hard to do with one hand, but I love to vine these around, and I've said this before, but to me, it looks like a beautiful art piece. And just like the backyard Greenstalks for the garlic, these are my garlic Greenstalks, and I'm just going to leave them as is. Now, if I decide sometime in August to do a quick little green bean planting, because I have a long growing season, I may just do one or maybe two, but definitely not all four. However, you can see this basil, Tulsi Holy Basil, has just made its home on this top tier and I'm leaving it. Look at how lush and beautiful. I did not plant this. This is all volunteer. I have them throughout the pockets right here, and this is my favorite way of gardening. I just don't have to do anything because it just volunteers itself every year. Now, I realized the last Greenstalk tour that I did not show you an update on the ginger and turmeric. Friends, look at how gorgeous these are in the Greenstalk. I had this vision of these beautiful, gorgeous tropical leaves growing out of the black Greenstalk, and oh, has it not disappointed me. Look at how beautiful these are. I absolutely love how this is going, and I don't know, I might even stop growing them in the grow bags. Now, if I end up getting more ginger and turmeric out of these than the grow bags, I may just end up getting 2 more Greenstalks and growing double the ginger and turmeric. And then look at the ginger. I mean, and they're like growing out of every tier, which is really encouraging to see. Every tier has ginger and turmeric, and look at this one's growing a new one right here. So I'm really already looking forward to harvesting this come, I think I usually harvest sometime in October-ish or September. It just depends on the weather. Depends on the weather, it depends on the leaves and how everything is, but this is gonna be fun. And you can see the comparison. I mean, listen, the grow bags do amazing. This one took too long. This really took too long to start growing, but thankfully it did start growing. I always feel like turmeric always takes longer. They're a little bit more finicky than ginger is, but you can see the grow bags do really good too. So I don't know, this is gonna be really interesting to see and pretty much compare to see if these did better or those did, or if they both are equally good. Friends, I feel bad because I have not had a chance to come over here and even straw down here or add any soil. This is my perennial tower. I have mint, yarrow, stinging nettle, marshmallow, and then I had a bunch of little pepper plants that started growing. See, these are the little teeny tiny peppers. My mother-in-law gave me this plant and I figured that I would grow them in here. So it looks like we're gonna be harvesting little peppers soon. Now for my strawberry towers, not much has changed here. I did clean up last time and I'm so glad that I did, because I had, and I still have, Japanese beetles that are attacking the strawberries. They were actually eating the strawberries, friends. I was so aggravated, but I'm glad I cleaned it up because we need some new leaf growth, and I can see they're starting to grow more leaves. I do need to get these into new pockets. I'm actually taking a little bit too long that I think this one might have died on me. Let me show you how dry it is, and we just watered this last night. I can pick this whole thing up. Look at how dry that is. So I show this to you so that you know to keep things watered if you can, because especially the berry cups, they're obviously a lot smaller than the tiers. This will probably stay moist for a lot longer than the berry cups, but I have to make sure I keep these hydrated, especially during the heat like this, because they will dry out on you. And then here are my 2 potato towers. Now friends, I am actually going to be planting fall potatoes, and I think I'm going to be planting them at the end of July. So I'm going to plant them in here, and I'm also going to try those again because because I do have some sprouted potatoes left from back in February, March, and they didn't mold on me. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just try it and see what happens. So I will be planting these for fall planting. I don't want to forget to show this to you before I show you the last two green stalks that I have. I finally got around to putting my pepper plants in these two brown green stalks. Now, the significance with me putting listen to me, pepper plants in here, minus I did put a couple of tomatoes up here, which some of them looked like they died on me. I'm gonna have to replant some tomato plants. But the reason I put peppers in here is my goal is to overwinter these green stalks with all of the pepper plants. Whether I'm able to grow peppers throughout the winter or they just stay dormant and then I can bring them out as soon as it starts getting warmer, thus getting more peppers quicker than having to wait to plant my peppers in the beds in the back. And the fact that they're on the ultimate mover where you can water it and take that out, that's what makes it so much easier to have in the garage over winter, because I can keep them going because of the ultimate mover that Greenstalk recently came out with. So I am super excited to try this out. It will be a total experiment. I have overwintered pepper plants before in grow bags, and I will tell you, it was a pain in the butt to overwinter my pepper plants in the grow bags because one, it took up a lot of space because you're talking just one plant in one grow bag, as opposed to the Greenstalk, it's 2 feet of space and it's a bunch of plants, in this case 18, well one of them, the other one has a couple of tomatoes, but 18 plants in pretty much the same footprint as one of my grow bags. So I'm excited to try this. I hope that it works. So we'll have to see what happens. Now for the last two green stalks. This one is getting pretty wild, and you can see, just like the amaranth, the kale has been just chewed up. However, there's some things that are still doing good, surprisingly. I don't know how long they're gonna last, but the Swiss chard is still doing pretty good. It seems like the Italian dandelion is doing pretty good. I don't see any signs of flowering, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did start flowering. And wow, I just noticed that this fennel has grown even more since the last time I showed you the Greenstalk garden. So I don't know, maybe we'll harvest this next week. That's actually pretty good. And then even some of the celery is doing really good. So I don't know. This is still my spring stuff that I've had in here for a while. And obviously we are in the summertime now. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to come over here and maybe next week we'll harvest what we can. And then I'll have to think about what it is that I'm going to be putting in here in place of it. Look at this other celery. I'd have to say this is probably a lot easier to grow in the Greenstalk than it was for me in grow bags. This is really exciting, friends. Now for this lovely pepper Greenstalk. So, prime example of this amaranth. Again, look at how chewed up this is. It's so chewed up, which is fine. But it's doing its purpose while everything else is growing healthy, and I don't see any chewed up leaves on the pepper plants. The parsley is doing amazing. Let's see if there's any peppers to harvest. I don't think there is any to harvest, but look at all these peppers. Look at these. And there's more jalapenos right there. There's another pepper right there. More jalapenos over here. We got another pepper right there. And then there's more over here. Look at all this. These are beautiful. Very exciting. And then look at these. So this is the Cali Wonder, which is interesting to me because for some reason, I feel like I've not had the best results with just Cali Wonder. Now Cali Wonder 300 I have. Those are growing in my raised beds, and I think I put a couple in, I want to say maybe the brown Greenstalk. I don't think I put one in here. If I did, it's just going to probably be one. But with that being said, I'm very happy to see that just the Cali Wonder is doing really good. I'm going to wait on harvesting these though. Maybe next week. I'd like to see them get a little bit bigger. By the way, I want to tell you, so when your calendula dries out like this and you see that it has seed at the end of the flower, it dries out, what I like to do is just stick it in a pocket where there's more calendula, and then it'll just regrow itself. By the way, friends, this is the marigold crackerjack that I shared during my seed starting videos and what I'm going to be starting. Look at how beautiful this is. The color is stunning. It looks like it's going to bloom a lot of marigolds too. I'm actually going to grab a little bit of parsley and then that'll be it. All right, friends, let's go ahead and see what we harvested today. All right, so we got ourselves a sweet little harvest, but lots of cucumbers this time. I'm excited for that. I've been missing cucumbers. But we got ourselves a lot of little snacking cucumbers and then some more tomatoes as they fall down. But I did see a lot of the dwarf tomato plants, the tiny Tim as well as the orange hat. There was a ton of little tomatoes on there. So hopefully, I'm thinking by the next tour, at least the one after that, we should be harvesting a lot more of them. I'm actually really enjoying the dwarf size, and so far someone had asked me how I like the flavor of the orange hat, and it is a burst of flavor, but there's also like a hint of citrus, at least the ones that I've tried so far. Maybe I need to give it a little bit more time, but there was a little bit of citrusy flavor to it, so I'm really enjoying that. But what I've noticed is that they're growing a lot more than I would even say the tiny Tim. And then we got ourselves some parsley. Okay, so I don't know about you friends, but there's some herbs that I do really good, and then there's some herbs that are just a struggle for me, and parsley has always been a struggle for me. So to see this growing so good gives me a lot of encouragement, and I'm noticing that it's doing the best in the Greenstalk. Now I think I have grown parsley in my raised bed and it's done really good, but this is the best I've ever grown parsley, and it's growing in my Greenstalk. Well friends, I am so glad that you all stopped by, and don't forget about the entry in the description below for the 5-tier giveaway with Greenstalk. I am super excited about that. And I also want you to know, friends, that I greatly appreciate every single one of you, and always look forward to turning this camera on and coming out here, even in the heat, to show you everything that's going on with the Greenstalks. And I also want you to remember this, friends, and don't forget, I want you to be encouraged, stay encouraged, and I want you to always stay inspired. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.